Right, so last year I reviewed the new Mazda MX-30 REV. Now that was the one that brought back the rotary engine for Mazda. It was actually a range extender hybrid vehicle. But of course, when they introduced the MX-30, it was as an EV, which is what this is. I never actually reviewed the EV. Now, it's an important vehicle for Mazda, especially now, especially this year, because now that we have the ZEV mandate, what's it called? The Vehicle Emissions Trading something or other. Anyway, let's just call it the ZEV mandate. It's easier to remember. But what it means is that they have to have a minimum 22% sales have to be EVs, although there are other offsets. And in fact, I've done an interview with the MD of Mazda, and he sort of explained how that all works. So go check that out as well, or if it's not live, it soon will be. But while I was here, I thought, let me just take this out, because I hadn't driven it so far, and it's an important vehicle for Mazda, as are all EVs in every manufacturer's range. It's going to be very important for them. So let's see what this is like. Right, so as we drive out of Vista, this is the Makoto. This is the range topper anyway. And so this one is 35,500 pounds, 37,000 with the full options on this particular car. I'll put the spec and everything on the screen, but it's got about 271 Newton meters of torque, 145 PS, so brake horsepower. And that will give you 0 to 60 miles per hour in 9.7 seconds and a top speed of 87 miles per hour. Obviously, electric, straightforward, put it into drive. I'm not going to go into too much. Now, I did do a full review of this car, so I'm not going to look at the practicality, don't need to look at the boot or anything like that. So just check out my other review that I've done on the car. And for this one, we're basically just going to take it for a drive and see what it feels like on the road. It's very quiet, obviously. Full bleed mirror, I like that. Seat is way too laid back. I thought I'd already adjusted that. There you go, that's a bit better. I like a bit more upright. And again, very smooth. There's a slight jitteriness to it. Yeah, the ride, you can sense the rigidity in the ride, definitely, for this type of car. But very quiet, very smooth, serene. Feels like it's got plenty of oomph. What are we reading on here right now? So the range on this car, it says 125 miles combined. I think purely urban is about 165. Anyway, I put the spec on the screen. And what is it saying at the moment? It's saying 91 miles just beneath a motif that looks like a fuel pump with a plug attached to it rather than an actual pump thing. So a nozzle. So that's interesting. That's the motif for the battery there. So 91 miles is showing, and on the other side is a battery motif, and under that it says 81%. So at 81% I got 91 miles, which isn't a huge amount, let's be honest, you know. But again, it depends on what kind of driving you're doing. And if you're doing around town driving, then it should be plenty. But if you're going to do any motorway stuff, then probably it's a bit more of a concern. This sort of stuff we're doing right now, so it's got paddles on here, so it must have the, yeah, so that's like extreme slowing down now on the one pedal mode. I like one pedal modes. I know that there seems to be, in the latest generation of EVs, they are already getting rid of the one pedal mode and making the cars more conventional to drive. But I always thought that was one of the cool features of EVs, was that one pedal facility that it had, where you could drive, especially around town, you know, and especially in traffic and stuff, where, you know, you could literally just go and stop on the brake. And with a bit of practice, even the ones that completely didn't brake to a halt, with a bit of practice, you could figure out like when it would stop. So actually, you know, it's all about focusing your mind back on the driving, because then you're really trying to anticipate, you're trying to look ahead and figure out what you're doing and how long it's going to take you to stop and how much space you need and that sort of stuff. So I actually found it quite interesting and quite refreshing and quite engaging in a sense, you know. I'm pretty much on one pedal mode now for this sort of driving, not really needing to use the brakes much. It's very comfortable in here. This is all very modern, very nice. I mean, it's just like, you know, I mean, of course I've probably discussed all of this in my original review of the MX-30, but it's very nice. I mean, obviously you have this massive space here which is kind of blocked off in terms of visibility. Visibility out the back is not so much, not too bad, but visibility over your shoulder is not great because of the door pillars and the way that the rear sort of suicide door setup kind of eats into the space a little bit. But forward visibility is good, sound insulation is very good, steering is quite light, not you know, it's as you'd expect in an EV. Not a lot of feel, not a lot of interaction, but quite accurate and actually very responsive. I mean, there's not a lot of play in it. It responds like with even the slightest of movement. You do get response from it, so that's pretty good. Right, so good turning, holds the road well. Right, let's punch out the roundabout. Yeah, I mean, it's good performance. It's good linear, steady, solid performance. It's not like blitz the road or blitz the tarmac sort of performance. It's sort of like, yep, you know, it'll give you the performance when you need it. It won't snap your neck or anything like that, which is probably what a lot of people are looking for from their EVs. Using the performance now, we've dropped the battery to 76% and 87 miles range. But it's very good. I mean, again, quite level, quite planted, good response on the steering, holds the road fairly well, and not much indication of understeer or oversteer or anything like that. So pretty neutral, I would say. So let's just push it through these corners a little bit. Fast sweepers, really. But again, very settled, slightest input on the steering wheel, keeps it very steady. Again, you know, Mazda seem to inject this kind of rare sportiness into their cars even when they're not really meant to have them. So it's quite a satisfying drive, even in EV form. Yeah, all good. So if you want an EV from Mazda, check it out. Just check out the range. I mean, let's be honest, most people do, you know, less than 30 miles every day. So when people, you know, fuss so much about range, it turns out that actually they don't really need that much range. Certainly not as much as they think they do. But having said that, it depends on your circumstances, it depends on your commute. So you've got to figure out what your normal daily mileage is, etc., etc. So other than that, thumbs up, check it out. But don't forget to check out my full review on the MX-30, which of course was for the REV, where I covered it in a lot more detail. Catch you in the next one. Check this out, guys. It's my book. It's my first novel, and it's written for car fans like you. It's a fun political action thriller. It's full of cool cars and spectacular action. Get your copy now at Amazon.com.